On the positive side, I genuinely believe that souls are very resilient things. I did manage to get to a stage where not only did they allow me to walk through, but actually the chief and his brother balance between sanity and going a bit nuts on that island. And my name's Ed Stafford. I'm an explorer, and for the last decade really I've been making survival programs for Discovery Channel. I've filmed 7 series for Discovery so far, probably been to about 30 different countries along the way. And I suppose what I'm known best for is being dropped off in the middle of nowhere with nothing to help me survive and having to deal with the situation. I'd come back from an expedition called Walking the Amazon, which had been 2.5 years of walking through the rainforest. But I'd relied quite heavily on other people for that expedition, and what I really wanted to do was set myself a challenge where it would be just up to me if I had to do everything. So an isolated challenge, and I came up with the concept myself really. I thought if I strip away having any food, I don't have any water to help me, I don't have a knife, I don't have any equipment to survive. In fact, we even took away clothes. I was dropped off completely naked on this island. You know, could I do it? You know, could I cope on my own? Could I make a life for myself, and potentially could I make my life comfortable enough to end up thriving? And I didn't know the answers, and so I really wanted to test myself out really. I thought it was the perfect scenario to really test my own personal abilities. Yeah. I think invariably it was more exciting because of the fact that I hadn't done it before, and because of the fact that it was a new scenario. If I was to go back to the same island and do the same thing again, I'm sure I would have, because I've already learnt all those from those mistakes, life would be a lot easier. But I think there's probably other things that would be better to focus on. I would prefer to set myself a fresh challenge where I didn't have the answers, and then I'd obviously learn from that challenge. So I don't see the point in going back myself. An interesting event that happened that I didn't record on camera. Yes. When I was walking the Amazon, a number of things happened that I was too scared to get the camera out. I was held up at gunpoint a couple of times, I was held up at arrow point a couple of times, and I was arrested for murder. And every single time I was scared, and the camera was in my bag, and especially when I was, you know, a life-threatening situation like that, the last thing you want to do is go, hang on 1 second and take your rucksack off and get your camera out and start filming. And so I really regret it, to the extent that the next filming project that I've got is one where I might be meeting people, and I've got a covert camera built into my hooded top so that I can turn on in my pocket. And so I thought that would have been, when I was walking the Amazon, a really useful thing to have, because I could have come into those situations and then started filming my point of view without anybody knowing, and I think that would have been a useful tool. But yes, unfortunately, I missed all the good bits on walking the Amazon. I don't know Turkey well enough to actually know the individual locations, but it has been talked about as a location for a backdrop for one of my shows a number of times, and for some reason it's never made the final list. I would love to come here, I'd love to make a show here. Apparently Bear Grylls made a show here, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't. The people here are amazing, and I'd love to come back, so fingers crossed. The boring answer is it often comes down to money. Wherever the money comes from is where you end up going. The money for my last series came out of Singapore, so it meant that all of the episodes got made in Asia. The money for the next project is likely to come from China, which means that all of the episodes will be made in China. And I think in this day and age where getting projects commissioned is hard enough anyway, if you come in with finances, with money backing a project, it's more likely to get commissioned. Apparently, adventure is on the increase in Turkey, and more people are getting into adventure. I think that's amazing. I've just written a book called Adventures for a Lifetime, which is deliberately advocating people taking more risks in their life, going out and having bigger adventures, because I think it's a really wholesome thing to do. So to everyone who's going out there and having adventures, then keep doing it, do more of it, take more risks with your life. Few places, I've not seen any of the big mosques or the bazaar or any of that, so all exciting things that I've got yet to come. Well, like you said, I mean, she's an adventurous, so she understands me completely. She did an expedition earlier this year to become the first woman to lead a team down the Essequibo River, which is the 3rd longest river in South America after the Amazon and the Orinoco. And you know, no one had ever done it before, and she'd had a child only 8 months before, and so we've got a little baby, and we very much share parenting responsibilities. And the last thing either one of us want is, now that we've got a child and hopefully more on the way, the last thing we want to do is stop adventuring, stop doing the things that we love. So as long as we take it in turns to look after the baby, then she's fully supportive of everything that I do. No,
The exciting project that's about to come out is called First Man Out, and that airs on D-Max in Turkey at the end of January, which is super exciting. I've just seen some of the cuts of the programme, and it looks amazing. There is, as I've already mentioned, the prospects of doing a second series of this with money coming out of China, so fingers crossed that happens. And I've already got the whole year panned out until about September next year, so busy times, but really exciting as well.
860 of those days were walking the Amazon, 120 of those days were rather embarrassingly naked,